Alright, you're going to hear a lot of kid noises in the background, but that's fine. Today we are making crab cakes. I use imitation crab. You can use crab out of the can if you have money like that. But I actually bought a lot of extra imitation crab the last time I made sushi. So I'm using these chunk style imitation crab pieces right now. And I'm also going to break up a few of the leg style imitation crab. And then we're going to get that in a bowl and get it nice and diced with some kitchen scissors. I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done with that part. Alright, that's what we're looking like. I did use my food processor on about 80% of the crab meat after I chopped it up into quarter-sized pieces like this. So I left a few of those pieces in there just for some chunks of crab, but I did process it into a small food processor for 80% of it, okay? That was 1.5 of those imitation crab bags. And while I'm doing this, I actually have that bell pepper mix that I used in my dumplings video on the stove behind me getting warmed up and all the juices let out, so that it actually mixes pretty well with the dough that I'm going to make here. And I'll show you what those pepper mixes look like one moment. I use this for a lot of recipes. It cuts out so much time. And when I don't have this and I actually have the vegetables, I make my own mix like this constantly. And I just freeze it together like this blend. It just makes things a lot more simple. So I'll add the rest of the ingredients here and show you what I'm doing. Alright, so I'm using Kewpie mayo. You can use any mayonnaise you have for this part. And to that 1.5 bags of crab meat, I'm adding probably 3/4 of a cup of mayo so far. I do have to eyeball it. I will put the measurements in the description, but that's the problem with Southern cooking. We kind of eyeball everything and we taste as we go. That's just how it is. Alright, a quick recap. To the crab meat, I have added 3/4 a cup of mayo, about 1.5 tablespoons of mustard, a tablespoon of Old Bay seasoning, a teaspoon of Cajun seasoning, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of hot sauce. You can add more if you like them more spicy, and about a cup of shredded Mexican cheese. Now I'm about to mix it all in with these hands. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to get it all married together, and then we're going to get this mix into a wet mix. And to this wet mix, we're going to add those pepper seasonings that I put in the boiler, and we're going to add that to the wet mix. Then after we get our wet mix all combined together, squeezed together, just like you would a good dressing, you're going to get out breadcrumbs. I'm using Italian today, but you can get whatever breadcrumb flavor, even plain, that you feel like would complement your taste better. But today we're going to use Italian. So I'm just going to get this wet mix done first and nicely incorporate it. It should look like deviled egg mix at this moment. Alright, so I have the peppers drained out from the stove that I just cooked up. I have it strained through one of these mesh strainers. And I'm going to add that to the wet mix, as well as whatever's left in the boiler. Of course, you're not trying to waste food. That's definitely not the point of cooking. So we're going to add that in and mix it up the same way with our hands. Okay, so the reason I left this hot like this to mix it in is it's going to help mix that cheese and get the wet mix incorporated even more. You want to let it cool off just a bit. It can still be steaming, but because there is some mayo in here, you're going to want it to cool off just a bit to where you can work it with your hands, of course. So that's all incorporated. Now we're going to add the breadcrumbs, and I'll tell you how much. Okay, so I used almost this entire 13-ounce container of Italian breadcrumbs. This is the brand I'm using. I got this from Kroger. So this was full, and it has about 1/4 left. This is the consistency in your dough that you're looking for. You want to be able to form it into a ball, and it holds. At this point, you're going to want to taste it for flavor and add spice if you want to, garlic, whatever you think this needs, and acids such as mustard. You would taste it at this point, and then you're going to add 2 eggs. Okay, so all mine needed was about a teaspoon of black pepper and another teaspoon of Old Bay. This is just taste to preference. You can add more crab here if you think it needs it. And really, because it's staying together so well, I think we're only gonna add 1 egg. Okay, so we've got the egg added. We just dropped it in. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna mix it with our hands until it's all incorporated. Then we're gonna get those patties onto the flat top and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so the flat top gave them a good sear and a good color. Now they're gonna go in the oven at about 350 for 10 minutes just to cook everything. Now I'm about to make kind of a corn fritter. I'm gonna use Jiffy corn muffin mix. I'm gonna add 1 can of corn to that, a quarter of a diced onion, and that's it for half of it because a lot of my household, besides me, does not like spice. For the other half of these, I'm going to add some green chilies. This kind. Okay, I put that mix in a mini muffin tin. Yes, I absolutely destroyed the filling process, but we're not here for perfection, we're here for food. So this is also going to go in the oven at 350 with the crab cakes that are finishing off. And we're going to get those in there. I slathered the inside of these tins with olive oil so that the outside would get crispy. Alright, and to finish this dinner off, I just put some green beans in a boiler with some bacon, a little bit of chicken broth, sorry about the screaming child, and some butter. So butter, chicken broth, green beans, a little bit of salt and pepper, and a slice of bacon. So I'm boiling that, so we'll have crab cakes, corn muffins, I'll call them that because they're muffins, not fritters, because I don't have oil to fry them, and crab cakes, and green beans. Sorry. Alright, there's the finished products. I'm not going to eat it today or right now for that matter because quite frankly I ate way too much at work. So y'all have a good night and make you some crab cakes.